Welcome to another episode of Inspired Voices, the reality show edition. This is Sybil.
Hi.
And my name's Oliver. And today we're covering Love is Blind, the reunion, the last episode of the season 8 of Love is Blind. And yeah, so it's...
We got through it.
We got through it.
And so did they.
And so did they. Some of it was bad, some of it was good. But in the end, it was meant to be.
Sure.
All right, so let's get into the reunion.
Well, this was the anniversary edition, big 5 years for Love is Blind.
That's right.
And they did not let us forget it throughout the entire episode.
Right.
They open up with talking about the last 5 years. To be honest, I just have opened up talking about the last 5 years. Don't remember what they said.
Right.
But they did.
I don't know how many episodes a year that is. I forget.
I think they only have like 2 seasons a year.
Yeah, that's what I think.
You know, but you know, after they reminisce a bit, then they go into their success story, Taylor and Daniel, and they we get a montage of beautiful photos, and they just say about how great the last year has been.
Yeah. And Daniel got a tattoo of Taylor's eyes, and I was like, oh, that's cute.
That he did.
And I was like, I thought it was gonna be something like decent size, just the eyes. But no, it was like this rectangle thing with her eyes in it. And I was like, that's a big ass tattoo. And what's up with the rectangle? Like, I thought it was just going to be the eyes, but no.
He said he got inspiration from a picture that she took. And, maybe it was him and his tattoo artist collaborated. But I did think it was sweet. Taylor opened up with a joke, like an Instagram joke about him following her and unfollowing her. Right. And then, yes, we found out about the tattoo. So their, recap was cute and sweet. I'm actually a little surprised they started with the success story. Like usually they let us go through a little of the murk and then they bring us back up with, but yay, someone's happy.
Right.
But instead, they put a pin in Taylor and Daniel and then went to Devon and Virginia.
Yeah.
And stuff got real pretty quick.
We got some questions answered.
We did.
On that one.
And I saw on Instagram, I think Virginia had posted the night before, tune into the reunion so you could see me use my big girl voice.
Oh, shit.
And that she did. So we get into it and we find out that Virginia felt that she got there emotionally with Devon, but there wasn't alignment on the important things, like the core values. Yeah. We know this.
Right.
So she didn't feel comfortable telling Devon's views, but she wants to be clear about hers.
Right.
And I thought that was such a smart way to do that.
Yeah.
She was like, I'm not going to air his dirty laundry, but let me tell you exactly how I feel.
And let you know that his is completely opposite from mine.
Exactly. And, she says she believes different religions should be valued. She had family members from different religions at the wedding. A woman has the right to choose whether she wants an abortion, and she supports the LGBTQIA plus community.
Yeah.
And then Devon is kind of trying to save face and says, he can love everyone and not completely agree on everything. And
see, that's a toughie. That's a toughie because like those are like actual like core value type of topics, and you can't really just ignore it or just brush it, under the rug or something like that.
Well, I think in the end, that's why, Virginia pulled the plug.
Yeah.
It was a relationship that she knew wasn't going to work at the end of the day. And instead, like, I think the difference between Virginia and Devon and Sarah and Ben is that Sarah and Ben, we saw it come up over and over and over again. Yeah. Virginia, we saw it come up that once. She seemed strong about it.
Right.
But then it kind of faded away, and then it was like, oh no, the prenup is our storyline. So when we got to day of, that's what I think was a little more shocking, but also like being like relieved, like a breath of like fresh air. Like, okay.
Yeah, and then we, last episode we found out about the check, right? And we didn't know how much, we didn't know the information about it. And then we know that it's like found out that it's like $1,000 check from his boss.
I think his mom's boss,
something like that. Yeah.
So Virginia says there were signs they weren't a perfect match. She mentions the stuff about the check.
Yeah.
Says she also found a note from an ex on his nightstand.
Right.
I think at the night before the wedding or a couple nights before the wedding.
Yeah, and he didn't think of it as his ex because they're like best friends and stuff like that. I'm like, that's what? That doesn't make any sense to me because like if it's your best friend, then she kind of would have known that from the start, right?
Well, she didn't know they had dated, and he said one of his best friends. Like there was just a lot of context lost there.
Yeah, that's true. He wasn't clear on it.
Right, because he said, Virginia had met her, but Virginia was very clear that she didn't know they had dated when they met, and that's an entirely different type of introduction.
So that's just like the third time of him being a little sketchy about things, stuff like that.
That we know of.
That we know of, yeah.
And Virginia mentioned, in context with this check, like it had been his birthday week. She had put several $100s worth of gift cards in a birthday present for him, and it didn't really go over well. Like apparently, I guess she left the gift bag or gift basket like in the car or something or downstairs and asked him to go get it. And he was like, oh, well, you can go get it. Like it was, an awkward exchange. And then we also find out that Devon has told, general folks, rest of the cast, that Virginia ghosted him after the wedding. When in fact, Virginia said, oh, no, you stopped answering my calls. I called you for a week and, then you stopped answering my calls. To which Devon says, well, that's because every time we spoke, it was like this, as in, yes, she's standing up for what she believes in and you guys don't agree.
Right.
And then Molly and...
which contradicts what he's saying.
How so?
What he was saying about like, oh, we could disagree on things, but still make the relationship work.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And then Molly and Madison chime in and back Virginia up, and they were like, no, you told us that she ghosted you. And he tried to like skirt by it. It didn't work well. And, Virginia was, I think, vindicated in that argument.
I wonder how long that was, like, when they had that conversation. Because, like, some people be like, oh, that was like a year ago. Like, this is specifically what happened. But in some people's minds, that it would have been flipped a little bit.
What do you mean flipped a little bit?
Like, he said, she said kind of thing.
I would say, I think in this case, Devon knows and he is actually just lying. Because the way he reacted to Molly and Madison also kind of backing her up. Yeah. It's kind of the same thing as Jeremy never remembering anything ever.
Right.
He's just like, no, that's not what happened.
It was funny how they commented on that.
I mean, it's definitely giving, a chorus line or a peanut gallery, but also necessary. So we kind of wrap things up with them. It's contentious. And then we start with the most memorable moments countdown.
Yes.
They do a top 5 for the 5-year anniversary.
Honestly, I feel like they could have done better. But, some of them are pretty good.
I think they may have put out clips and people voted. I'm not quite sure. But it starts with number 5, and that is with Chelsea and Jimmy. And Chelsea is saying she looks like Megan Fox.
Right, yes.
Felt bad for that girl because she got roasted.
I feel like that could have been like a number 1 or 2, honestly.
No, because they have to give more love, I would hope. They don't really with these moments. But that one was more like, oh, no. Yeah. So I respect the number 5 spot. Then we get into Sarah and Ben. And this is an entirely different dynamic between Sarah and Ben than we'd seen the entire time they were actually on the show.
Yeah, I feel like they were actually being honest and real with each other now.
Sarah was,
yeah.
Yeah. Ben was lying through his teeth. So
he acknowledges that he has privilege in his life and he's trying to work on it or something like that, right?
He wasn't proud of it and he needed to grow.
Right.
Very buttoned up, seemed very rehearsed, I've got my speaking points. And
it's almost like he ran through it with his lawyer or something.
Yeah. Or another previous Love is Blind cast member. So he says he has Sarah to thank for the impact she's had on him on social issues. It's giving first term politician as well. And Sarah says the problem was that outside of the pod, things just never progressed as far as, his ideas, being curious, things like that.
Yeah.
Ben says he honestly didn't remember his church's stance, but it just never pertained to him. So that's why not. That's why he wasn't being more curious outside of the pods.
Right. I mean, it's his church too. So like, is he really going to say it if it was true?
Well, he said he didn't go every weekend. So, he didn't remember. And then Sarah brings up the TikTok and says, in hindsight, it wasn't small because there were thousands of comments. But knowing what she knows now, it makes sense.
I wish you could have elaborated on that.
From what I understand, the actual TikTok doesn't elaborate much. Like,
Right.
it does not saying specifically. It's just like he's not a good boyfriend. Like, he's looking to be on TV.
That's what she's trying to say. Okay. I thought she was like found out some more information about that TikTok video and stuff like that.
She may have, but at least from the general public, from my understanding, at least what I'm understanding, what happened online, the person who originally released the TikTok hasn't gone much more into it.
Gotcha.
So Sarah, which I thought this was interesting, and I didn't really read it that way at the weddings, but Sarah said she still had hope after the wedding. And she had to finish a 3-month contract. She was a traveling nurse. So she had to finish a 3-month contract of working in Nashville before she could move back to Minnesota.
Right.
So apparently Sarah and Ben had talked about living together for a week
About 2 weeks.
or two after the wedding.
Yeah.
And then he agreed to move with her to Nashville for a couple weeks.
Right.
So she ends up driving to Nashville. Apparently it was like a 12-and-a-half-hour drive or something. And she didn't hear from him during that drive. And then apparently he sent her like 3 scripted like apologies.
Right.
And then she didn't hear from him for like a month and a half.
Yeah.
Until
there
he
was no
reached
response
out.
to that. Right.
Yeah, I'm not sure if she responded, but it might have been like or she didn't.
Yeah.
And then until he reached out to practice or rehearse reunion questions, because it was important for him that they be on good terms for the reunion.
Right. And he got the idea from Jimmy.
Which he did not want to admit.
Right.
And Nick and Vanessa are like trying to dig at him, and he's just like, well, I don't want to say. I don't want to get him in trouble.
And then Sarah says,
Dropped it immediately. Jimmy. And we all saw how things ended for Jimmy. So maybe not the best person to be taking advice from.
Right.
So Ben thought, according to him, he says, well, he didn't respond he didn't reach out because he thought they were broken up.
Based on their last conversation, I guess they had like an argument or something like that.
Except Sarah is not on that page at all because according to her, she was expecting him to move in.
Yeah.
And, she said, I was talking to my sister and all these girls while I was on the road, the 12-and-a-half-hour trip to Nashville, telling them, we're moving in. Like, she had all the details. I'm going to set up a little desk for you. She said that Taylor and I think Daniel were supposed to come visit like a month in.
Yeah, maybe not have enough room for you.
Exactly.
Ben's going to be there.
So it was very much giving, we made plans, like very detailed plans about how all of this was going to go. He wasn't going to have to bring his car because he could use hers. Whole deal.
I think it seems like he just found an excuse to not go. And that was his in.
I think Ben very much got what he wanted, which
out.
was to be on TV.
Right.
Like, he was on TV, dodged a bullet, didn't have to get married. No, he can soak up the 15 minutes, which I think aligns with what she was saying. Like, now that I know him, what the TikToker was saying makes more sense.
Gotcha, yeah.
And he just seems so unbothered by what she was saying or by the fact that she was like, but we were going to move in together. Like, he just kind of kept that smile on his face and, kept apologizing, kept it very like a politician.
Yeah.
Just kept it very clean. And I'm just going to get out of this and keep it moving.
Right.
Not reacting emotionally, basically. And Sarah says, she thinks she was love bombed and that none of it was really real. Which, agreed. We put a pin in that. And then we moved to Molly and Joey.
Yeah.
Which was a complete 180.
That was a surprise.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like it was at the wedding, like another standing ovation.
Right.
Not so much.
Yeah.
So Monica is coming in hot a little bit. She admits that she never said, I love you, Joey. And she says that she wasn't shown that by Joey either. because you shouldn't have to tell your fiance to touch you. And she's embarrassed by watching everything back because it's obvious to her now that he wasn't into her. And Joey admits they could never get out of the friend zone. But he thinks the big reason for him not being able to get out of the friend zone is her sister.
Right.
Which I do think was a bit of a leap because they went to Honduras before he ever met the sister.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
And like, that kind of goes back to my theory of, I felt like it was a movie of stepbrothers. Did we just become best friends? You know, like that whole situation. I feel like that it was that kind of relationship.
Between Monica and Joey.
Yeah.
So Monica found out a month prior to the reunion that when they were at the tubing place with the big meetup, that the next day, Joey had slid into another cast member's DMs and said, you know, something along the lines of he saw her, but she doesn't know Monica doesn't know what was said. And she doesn't care what was said because the act of just sliding into someone else's DMs is problematic. Now,
and he said that he did that with a few cast members.
Right. He deflected. I was just like, I messaged a couple people to check in on people, you know?
Well, it's interesting he said that, but we never actually got around to the other people who he was DMing. So I'm not sure if it was true or not, you know?
Well, it is a big cast for one.
Yeah.
And for two, I felt a lot where most of the cast was kind of staying out of each other's business.
Yeah, that's true.
Particularly the couples weren't really getting in each other's business. The peanut gallery, a little different. Those who did not make it on, you know, for getting engaged, yeah, they got a little more into it. But everybody else pretty much kept it like, this is between them.
Yeah.
And it did stay that way until we find out it was Madison who he reached out to.
Right.
And, you know, he basically said, loving the pink hair, wish we could have talked more. And shortly after the wedding, apparently they were hanging out. I skipped some because that's with Monica. But basically, you know, this comes up and it became very muddy very quickly.
Yeah, and you know, they cut away to Joey's sisters in the audience.
Yeah,
and they
big
were
reactions. And at first it was like they were saying that when Monica was talking, but then as Monica kept going, it was kind of like, uh-oh, what did you do, Joey? And I think in general that was kind of the sense of like, well, Joey, what did you do?
Yeah.
You know, it was giving, he was very like much a nice guy, but not a great partner.
Right. Not to Monica, at least.
Right. And Monica goes on to say that shortly after the wedding, like, they were still hanging out as though they were a couple.
Right.
And they got physical a couple times, which he refuted and was like, no, it was once.
Yeah.
And she was like, a couple times.
I think people have different definitions of hooking up, I guess. That's what it seems like.
I need us to have the same definition because I feel like I know what Monica's definition was. And I feel like that's what she was counting it.
I don't know.
But Monica confronts Joey about this DM situation. Joey told Monica that Madison was coming on to him and, you know, kind of like coming after him, pursuing him. So Monica confronted Madison. And of course, Madison was like, absolutely not. And I got to be honest, 100% believe Madison. Madison is not going for Joey. That's not her type.
Yeah.
You know, I think she needs a little angsty, not a little goofy.
Right.
And both women pull him aside and, you know, kind of confront him on it. And he's like, denies it, which it's making him look like a liar because they pointed out, like, Joey kind of tries to flip it on Monica and be like, Monica was concerned about it. I don't know why she's worried about Madison. And then both kind of Monica and Madison are like, then how would she even get my name? Why would it be me specifically she was worried about? Because you were the one who said it. So it just got super messy and it looked very awkward. And my notes I have, Joey's sisters look bewildered. Because you're right. Like at first mad.
I feel like we're missing something, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it like maybe he like said something because he did mention like, oh, maybe it was a joke. I don't know. You know, something like that. But like, I don't know. I feel like we're just missing something.
I feel like he really wasn't that into her.
No.
And I feel like with editing.
And especially after the wedding, like, Even though they were like still acting like a relationship, when he boils it down, he's, you know, he can kind of just do whatever he wants, right?
And I just feel like even afterwards, yeah, they made this big speech and walked out. But even like then kind of the hugging afterwards when they were separating, like nothing gave romantic.
No.
You know, it probably was in his mind, maybe, you know, some friends with benefits situation and then kind of keep it moving.
Right.
But poor Monica, she did seem very hurt by the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was more so just realizing that she was all in for somebody who wasn't really all in on her. Mm. But ironically, wasn't all in enough to tell him that she loved him. There was a lot.
Yeah, I think there's a two-way street there. I don't know.
I agree.
Yeah.
Monica closes it out with saying, basically, good guy, not a good romantic partner to her.
Right.
And then we get memorable moment number 4.
Yes, which is Taylor and Garrett.
Mm-hmm.
And Garrett is in the fashion week. He's doing a lot of modeling and stuff like that. And I couldn't tell if it, at first I was like, oh, it's Garrett's fashion week thing. But then I was like, I don't know, is it the couple? And I was like, I just wasn't sure which one it was.
I'm going to say it's more so his glow up.
Glow up.
And then contributing it to, oh, this is like the wifey effect.
Right.
So, yeah. Well, we get into Lauren and Dave after that.
Oh, boy.
And what's, of course, the first question Vanessa's going to ask? Dave, how does your sister feel now?
Oh, no, well, actually, Nick, before that, says, Dave, what's wrong with you?
Right, right. Also true.
Right.
Little bummed that we didn't get like a surprise, you know what, let's just ask her and bring the sister out.
That would have been nice.
Except I think the sister, especially after watching everything back, had enough sense to be like, there is no way I'm stepping foot on the Love is Blind stage. I got enough problems and there's enough memes. So Dave says that his sister struggles watching it and seeing how hurt Lauren was.
Right.
Because her big concern in the first place was he'd go on the show and end up looking bad. And, well, look what happened.
Yeah. I think that was probably the worst couple right there of the season.
That actually got engaged, yes.
Yeah.
Because that was painful to watch.
Yeah.
Like, especially, and Lauren says it was painful for her to watch, which it should have been.
Right.
You know, she said watching it back, she realized she was light years ahead of him maturity-wise. And I was like, yes, girl, I'm glad. Like, we all have those moments. And to be fair, no one wants your worst relationship moments displayed to the world.
That's true.
That is a rough place to be in.
Especially when you're talking about, especially because of friends with benefit situation that you had before as well. It's like, so that's like 2 guys in your worst relationship kind of thing.
And the friends with benefits thing shouldn't have been the issue it was.
No.
You know, but the being with somebody who's just going to throw you to the wolves.
Right.
You know, in front of everyone repeatedly.
Mm-hmm. And that's what kind of like was the point of the whole Lauren and David situation, which they addressed, is him not having her back.
Yeah. So Lauren mentions they hadn't really talked in a year, but Dave sent her a text a few weeks ago. And it was about the other guy. You know, he had finally gotten some clarity.
Yeah.
Took him almost a year, but he finally got it.
He might have slipped up or something. I don't know.
Well, I think
the guy.
Yeah. I mean, he was clout chasing hard.
Yeah.
And David said his mind frame shifted in the past 2 or 3 weeks before the reunion. And I believe it was Vanessa who asked him, like, but were you looking for an out? Was this just your out? And he denies it. Like, that wasn't it. And at the reunion, I do feel like I believe him a little more. Like, I don't think Dave knows what to do.
Yeah.
With himself.
I mean, like you said, it's a little bit of that, well, not a little bit, but the immaturity, you know?
Yeah, like his ego really got in the way. If he just got clarity 2 or 3 weeks ago.
After a year.
After most of the show, like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Nick poses a question to the group, which I did appreciate, basically about like hooking up before the show and, you know, is it wrong, blah, blah, blah. And he called it Lauren Gate. And he took a poll, you know, raise your hands. And is this really a big deal? Is it a scandal? Everybody raised their hand. They're like, not at all.
Yeah.
So he was like, okay, we can put this to bed.
Right.
Which I was glad that they didn't harp on it too much, because it was
true.
just like, she's been through enough.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Dave says he regrets not getting away, or regrets letting Lauren get away.
Sure.
And admits when Vanessa asks that she's the one that got away. Mm-hmm. Really proud of Lauren. She comes back and she's like, I don't fully believe you.
Yeah.
You know, because you
There
haven't
was
made
about
an
to be a
effort.
romantic thing happening when Dave was like saying that stuff, but you know, Lauren shot it down pretty quick.
Yeah, she
And it
realized.
was so obvious that it was like not believable. It's just, it wasn't true.
I feel like Dave, like he admitted during the show, he wants what he can't have.
Right. But I also think he was on the spot.
Yeah.
And he wants to say what people want to say, want him to say, kind of thing.
Yeah, because for the entire season, he said the exact opposite.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure his sister said, you better go up there and you better say all the right things and the nice things and stop being mean to that girl. Like, I'm pretty sure though that was his sister's instructions.
Right.
Dave says, so of course they introduced Molly into the conversation, because what would Lauren and Dave be without Molly? And you know, it goes back into you really couldn't get your friends and your sister to meet her like this whole time, like to talk about the letter, the whole deal.
Right.
And he just says no, they had their minds made up and didn't want to meet her.
And that he did give her the letter and stuff like that, which I call bullshit.
Same. And so did Lauren.
Right.
Like the timing just didn't add up, and just what he's saying doesn't make sense.
He's contradicting himself. For sure.
Left and right. And Molly said, seeing some of the lies that Dave told about her, of course she didn't feel great.
Yeah.
You know,
And as she
saying
was talking, Dave was like,
he can't even remember. In his mind, it was
Lies.
true. Like, you know, saying she was his number one. She's like, he did it several times. And, you know, they bring it back to Molly's storyline at the beginning, which was 29 years old, never been in a serious relationship. And Vanessa asked, well, what about now? It's been a year. And she's like, no, I spent the last year hating men. And I was like, well, that is the opposite effect that Love is Blind is supposed to have.
right.
Except somehow it does end up having that effect more so, I think, on this cast of the female cast than like previous seasons.
I think their eyes are a little bit more open, I feel like, to the bullshit, I guess you could say.
I feel like they've had to be.
Yeah.
You know, it has just been one hiccup after another. But then we get into number 3, most memorable moment.
It's Laura and Jeremy.
This should have been the number 1 moment, in my opinion.
You think so?
I remember just mouth dropped watching this whole thing, because girl had receipts and she was smart, and I appreciate he was caught red-handed.
Yeah, it's when Jeremy was out till 5 a.m. and the bars closed at 2. So she's like, where were you after 2?
Knowing full well he was with Sarah Ann.
God damn that Sarah Ann.
Yeah, and he was a bad liar. And what did she have? Like find my phone on or whatever.
Yeah.
Like she was tracking him. That was a really good moment.
Yeah, that was good.
Now we get into some more mess.
Yeah, with Megan Mason, right?
Megan Mason.
Here we go.
So we get to see their reveal again.
Yay.
But this time not on a cell phone.
Right.
Just like
On the big screen.
On the big screen. And I just have it was so cringeworthy to me. Like, didn't love it. Then we find out after all that, they're not even dating anymore.
Right. Yeah,
they
they're
tried
just
it
friends.
a couple times. Didn't work. But, you know, they wanted to remain in each other's lives.
Right.
So then Alex gets involved, of course. And Alex told Madison that Mason and Meg started dating. And Madison was just like, yeah, no, I was happy for them. And then, you know, we kind of get into Madison leading the conversation.
Yeah.
And, you know, she says that Alex was so different. Alex says that Madison was so different in between dates. You know, like 2 different people between her and Mason.
Right.
And basically, people start coming for Madison.
Yeah.
Like,
very weird.
pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
And she held her own against
and it's
3
not
people.
just those people on the cast, but like other podcasts have been saying that too, right?
Oh, their podcasts, Instagram, you know, Maneater. But like, I feel like the camp is very split on Madison. We're Team Madison over here.
Yes.
I believe that, she stood her ground, and those men, no, not okay.
And
Things
Meg
are coming
too.
out.
Like Meg is was trying to protect Mason as much as possible.
Meg
like
is big mad.
She was bucking up. You know what I mean?
I do not know why Meg is so mad, especially because it didn't even work out. Like,
I think they're still fucking though.
she feels, maybe, I don't know. She feels like she got sabotaged, but I'm like, do you get sabotaged if he's really not your person? Like, there's just, I don't understand why she's so mad at Madison about it. Especially at one point when like Madison was like, they're not your friends. Like, it's just like, So Mason says he didn't see things for what they were, meaning Madison, for who she was. And it says something about like being upset he didn't see what a red flag she was. And I was like, really, sir? Okay.
Yeah.
And
Very
Mason,
odd. Very odd.
Mason says he should have validated Meg like he had validated Madison.
Right.
You know, because that's where he screwed up.
Yeah. Because it was her fault.
Like, so much of this, they just blame on Madison, like they don't have their own autonomy.
Yeah.
So then Meg says, well, if Madison is cool with Mason, why did she just do an interview calling Mason manipulative? And then, Madison's trying to defend herself. Mason says, well, I could never, I'm glad you think I'm smart enough to manipulate someone. So he just played the dumb card and was like, I'm not smart enough to manipulate anyone. And it's like,
it kind of got a little bit of a confusion in people's faces.
I'm just like, did you see the show? Like okay. Madison admits that she was giving Mason breadcrumbs, which we called it like during the pods.
Yeah.
She was literally just like, I have a better connection. I'm giving you an out. What about Meg? Like, it's exactly what she was trying to do. Like, it's me, not you. Go pick her.
Right.
And Mason says, this part threw me. Mason says the only reason he committed to her, as in Madison, is because he felt pressure to do so. And Madison was like, I didn't force you to do anything. He's like, I didn't say you forced me to. I said I felt pressure to. And I was like,
that shouldn't matter.
It should not.
No, not at all. You have to make your own decisions in this.
Your feelings don't change with the wind blows. What happens when you're out in the real world and some other woman, you feel pressured by some other woman? What's about to happen?
He basically pulled a David.
Just flip-flop, for sure.
Yeah. Not flip-flop, but just like not making his own decisions.
True. Or making sense.
Right.
So then we start talking about some more stuff that's happened outside of the pod.
Yeah.
And Madison says they met up at a bar a few months ago, and that Mason apologized to her while they were at the bar. But then Mason flips it around and says, well, that's only because Madison had confessed her feelings to him that same night. Also, don't believe it for one. Because I do feel like Madison is strong enough to be like, no, not going to tell you I feel anything. Like, she does give me that vibe.
Yeah.
So then Meg pipes up and is like, well, don't I have a right to be mad? I got screwed over by both of them. I'm like, but why are you mad? I don't really get it.
Yeah.
Beautiful dress, though. I got to give her credit. She had the best dress.
Meg?
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha.
That blue number, it was nice. But that was the only thing nice about the whole conversation. So then Alex gets involved again and says Madison was a little manipulative.
Right.
And completely, different people, and doesn't understand why she was so upset about Mason because she got him. So why would you be so upset about it?
Ay.
And then Madison basically has to justify her feelings and be like, why are people telling me that I'm not hurt? It's my feelings.
Right. I don't think he gets the fact that she was dating two people, just like Mason was dating two people. And when dating, there's feelings.
I mean, everybody there was dating everybody else. It's such a weird thing. And then Madison throws it back and was like, well, you're a different person on and off camera. And then Madison's like, excuse me, I have to get screenshots out of my armpit. Which also may help explain the dress choice. You know, you gotta, you can't have the girls out, but also have like a folded piece of paper. It's strategic.
Yeah.
So she grabs those screenshots, and, you know, she starts reading some things off, you know, those receipts, and says she had more, but that's all she could fit in her armpit.
Right.
You know?
My thought was, she has another armpit. She couldn't fit it on the other one?
I feel like she thought that would be enough. Maybe you can't whip 2 notes receipts out. You know, that's
One
a
is
bit
enough,
much.
right? Okay,
One
gotcha.
is your aha moment. 2 is you doing too much.
Okay,
you know, maybe on an after show or a podcast.
All right.
So then Megan's still just so mad and, you know, like trying to chime in.
Yeah.
And Madison is just like tries to warn her, like, Alex is not your friend. Stop defending him. You know, and we'll see how that turns out, because I'm sure eventually there'll be some after the altar or something. Even though only one couple got married, so that'd be a pretty boring episode.
Right. Unless there's just drama between them all.
True. And I'm sure we'll find out some more to come, because I don't think that little quad of folks are going to be quiet anytime soon.
Yeah.
And then we get most memorable moment number 2.
Yeah.
Is Lauren and Cameron. Their reveal. Now, I was fully expecting it to be number 1, because they're like the OGs. There's only 2 couples that got married on the first season that are still together.
Yeah.
And Lauren and Cameron, after seeing that first season, were the reason my friends were like, oh, you should go on the show.
I didn't get why they were number 2 though, because they're just meeting each other. But what is it about them?
Because their love story kind of really made the show a success. It was the first season. It was not what it is now.
Gotcha.
Nick and Vanessa were way more in it. They didn't know the show was going to be a hit. You know, it was so genuine and such a risk. And the fact that they've stood the test of time, you know.
Okay. Right.
And they love each other down. So it's
Yeah.
very sweet.
Gotcha.
But then we get into Taylor and Daniel.
Aha.
Oh, now, it wasn't so cute. We did find out that in the past year, Daniel's mom had been diagnosed with leukemia.
Right. They've been dealing with that in the family.
Yeah, but the good news is she's cancer-free, but she's waiting for a bone marrow transplant.
Yeah. And Taylor's dad, I believe, is staying with
Daniel's dad.
Daniel's dad is staying with Taylor's brother's house.
Yes.
Which is near the hospital.
Yes. Which is super sweet. Like, they are family.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And Taylor said, you know, it's nice that you can see things come full circle.
Absolutely.
You know?
Sure.
And then we do find out they just bought their first home.
Yes. Sweet.
So I won't be surprised if at next year's reunion, you know, she's either, you know, pregnant or had another baby or something.
Yeah.
You know, we'll see, because they seem very happy and just like they're moving right along.
Yeah. In line with life.
Exactly. Then we have a sock bin challenge.
Yeah. At first I was like, what? And then I got it.
I was still like, what?
So if you don't know, the sock bin challenge was the Monica's family sharing socks in a bin. So everybody got their own sock, including Monica's mom, and they all saw if they could throw it in a bin. And I thought somebody was going to win something. But no, it's just that. It's just that.
So the reunion was an hour and 14 minutes.
Yep.
They could have gone without the sock bin toss.
I think so.
No, especially because nobody won.
Nobody won anything. Yeah, no.
You get socks
Right.
on the stage. But then we go to the number 1 most memorable moment. Mm-hmm. I did not have this one on my bingo card.
Me neither. Jessica and Jimmy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And her breaking up with him. Well, technically, he was broken up with her because he was going to pick Chelsea. But it was her exit speech.
Right. Yeah.
That did it.
Mm-hmm. You are going to choke when you see me, when you see what you missed out on.
You will need an EpiPen to open your airways. Mm-hmm. Because she knew she was that fine. And to be fair, girl's beautiful. And he did double take. But.
And then we see her.
Yes.
Do a little video on the screen saying, know your worth, I don't regret it, and happy to be number 1, da 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 da.
Well, yeah, she did say she never expected to win. Like she didn't even think they'd keep it in. Which I don't know why you wouldn't think they would keep that epic speech in. Of course they will.
Right. She owned it.
She did. And then she went on Perfect Match.
Right.
So then we get a little twist where they welcome an alumni.
Yeah.
And then we find out it's 2 alumni. And I knew it was going to be AD because they said they referenced her from like the previous season's reunion where they were asking, if they were with somebody, but they were keeping it really hush-hush.
Oh, see,
that was AD.
That.
Yeah, from last season's reunion.
I was surprised they were together. I didn't know they were together.
Well, that is because you're not, following Love is Blind in the off season and listening to the podcast and the Instagrams.
Oh, okay.
But yes, AD comes out with Ollie.
Yeah.
Ollie. And we find out that AD has launched a podcast and they show a promo. And then they say, well, we met on the Perfect Match. And they show a promo that they were doing for Perfect Match.
Yeah. And then a round of applause, great. And then silence. And then Nick was like, oh, there's more?
And there
Very
was.
awkwardly. And there was still the video was rolling on them on the beach. And then it turns out that Ollie was proposing to AD.
He was.
On the beach while there was a stranger in the background looking at them.
Of course, you noticed that.
Of course.
It was a beautiful moment, and she was very happy. And she was you could tell, just genuinely surprised.
Yeah, yeah.
And Vanessa's crying, while we're watching all this, and asks if Love is Blind prepped them for marriage. And I guess they saw that question coming, or maybe they've just been on TV long enough now to know how to answer it. And they just confirmed, that it laid the groundwork for them, the foundation of Love is Blind, because when they were in Perfect Match, they were having really deep conversations, about important things.
Right.
So yes.
And they made it through, 2 shows? 2 reality shows?
Yes, one of which where they were with different people.
Right.
Getting potentially married. So, yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think their whole situation there, I don't know. I don't know how to put it, but it felt like a little stagey, I guess you could say.
I definitely think they were trying to keep it in the Love is Blind family as far as, like we're going to put her on, like as far as her podcast, and they're both on Perfect Match.
Sure.
But I will say, after seeing the proposal and how she reacted, I was like, well, this is adorable. And Clay did AD so dirty on her season. And, AD was a good woman.
Right. I think I'm talking about more like when we see them on stage, not on the video.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I can see that. Yeah. But they do make a beautiful couple.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there will be some type of special or spinoff, and I will watch it. And then we find out the new city.
Yeah. Denver, Colorado.
Yes.
Is where the next Love is Blind is going to be.
That's going to be interesting. I lived in Denver for a while, so I'm curious.
Yeah, you lived in Denver, right? So there's nothing really around, right? Besides Denver.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's... Boulder, there's, things. I'm sure it's going to be like, ski vacations and things like that.
Yeah, but I'm saying
Denver's more outdoorsy.
Right. But as far as there's only Denver and then surrounding is just nature. Right?
I mean, I suppose, but I'm sure for Love is Blind, the city of Denver will be enough.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like everybody knows everybody kind of thing?
I don't know.
It's
I don't
not
feel
that
like
small.
it. No, I don't feel like Denver's like that.
Gotcha.
I think I will be interested still more so in the diversity of it and how it all breaks down.
Yeah.
Which also makes me wonder will it be like a Seattle season where you maybe go out a little further, and things like that. So I'm kind of curious how that'll shake up.
Which is typical for Washington State in general, for people to come out further into Seattle and stuff like that.
So I wonder how it'll shake out in Colorado then.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then there is a musical number.
Yep. Alex Warren performs, and I gotta say, I don't know Alex Warren.
Same.
So when I heard the music playing, okay, it's a harp. That's nice. And then all of a sudden, I see.
Yeah.
His voice comes in. I was like, oh shit, what the fuck?
It was very unexpected. I was like, okay. But still, another thing that could have been skipped. It was like their version of the Fam Jam before the Fam Jam.
Oh, interesting.
And everybody's got their gold cups and they're trying to make it a moment. And I get it. It's the anniversary. They're like trying to do something different.
Yeah.
But also, this could have been an hour.
Yeah, it could have been a little. It was. I don't know. I felt like it was a little cheesy. You got the musicians in the pods and stuff like that. I was like, I get it. I mean, it looks beautiful. They did a nice job of the edit, the lighting, and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't think it was necessary, honestly.
I thought it was interesting that I felt like people knew the words, and I'm like, did they give y'all the track before?
Maybe he's just popular and we just don't know.
I feel like he wrote the song for Love Is Blind, though.
Oh, right. You think so?
I think so.
I don't know.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
And then, we exit with a Fam Jam. They give everyone instruments.
Yeah, from Monica's mom.
Monica's mom was Monica's family was apparently the highlight. They sold the sock bin and the Fam Jam.
Right.
And then we see a montage of the married couples saying happy anniversary.
Yeah. From all the seasons and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. Still wasn't that many, but it was cute.
Hey, they lasted though. I was surprised on some of them. I was like, oh shit, they're still together.
Yeah, Milton, and I can't remember her name.
Yeah.
Because he was so much younger and she was older, and then there was whole drama about like her knowing the other guy, Uche.
Uche, yeah.
It was a whole thing.
Right.
But yeah, that was it.
That's pretty much it. That's the reunion of Love Is Blind season 8. Man, that was a crazy few weeks. This is the first time that we're doing a reality show season like this. What did you think of it, us doing this?
I gotta say, a 6-episode drop, I will be happy never to do that again.
Yeah.
But
it was hard at first, that 6-episode drop.
That first one. But kind of like I said before.
And that was 2 weeks in a row too, right?
I think, no. It was just that first week with the 6 episodes.
Right.
But no, like I said before, I think it's nice to, maybe just step it up a little bit to what we already talk about at home as we watch the shows.
Yeah.
And I'll be interested to see, what other things we may want to talk about.
Right, of course. And if you'd enjoyed this season of Love Is Blind recaps, comment below. Let us know what you think. Let us know your perspective. Let us know what kind of shows you would like for us to cover. And see if we can make it happen. Always good to get some inputs on, how we can improve, how we can make it better, how we can make it entertaining for all of you guys. If you have any questions for us, comment below as well. Share it with somebody who you think will probably enjoy it. So I was gonna say who you think will benefit from it or something like that, but it's more like just enjoying it.
I mean, but benefit could include, you don't feel like watching the show,
right?
But your girl likes the show.
True.
So you just listen to us for the highlights.
Yeah, and then go on a date with your girl to talk about it.
I'm not saying I know anyone who does that, but I have heard it could be beneficial.
Yes.
We could, as a highlight reel.
Do you want brownie points? Watch the recaps.
That's how you got brownie points. That's how it started.
Well, I actually enjoyed it. So.
Well, you got into it and I appreciated that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see what the next episode. We'll see what the next season brings us. We'll see what other reality shows brings us as well, and we'll keep you guys posted on that. So I'm Oliver Riera.
I'm Sybil.
And we out.